Your daughter has been lying to you for 8 months. That's how my lawyer, David Harrison, opened our phone call on November 8th, 2024. Not, hello, Bob. Not, how are you holding up after your father's passing? Just that. 11 words that changed everything. I set down my coffee mug, the one Jessica bought me last Father's Day with "World's Best Dad" printed in fading letters, and smiled. Not the reaction David expected, I'm sure. Tell me more, I said. His voice cracked slightly. Bob, I need you to sit down. What I'm about to tell you about Jessica, it's going to hurt. I was already sitting, had been since March, really. Since Dad died and left us his $2.8 million estate. Since Jessica, my Harvard-trained lawyer daughter, swooped in to handle everything because I was too grief-stricken to think clearly. But what David told me next changed everything. She forged your father's will, Bob, and she had you declared mentally incompetent to contest it. David's words hung in the air like smoke. I could hear him shuffling papers on his end of the line. The power of attorney document she filed, dated March 15th. Your father died March 3rd. She couldn't have gotten his signature 12 days after he was buried. I opened my laptop and pulled up the Chase Bank statements I'd been reviewing that morning. There it was, March 16th, 2024. A $47,000 transfer from Dad's account to Jessica's personal checking. Then another on March 18th for $23,000. There's more, David continued. She submitted a psychiatric evaluation claiming you suffer from early onset dementia and severe depression. Makes you legally incapable of managing financial affairs. Who's the doctor? Dr. Mitchell Freeman. Supposedly examined you on October 15th. I flipped through my calendar. October 15th. I was in Seattle visiting my old Boeing colleagues. Had the boarding passes to prove it. David, I've never met any Dr. Freeman. I know, I called his office. He doesn't exist. The pieces clicked into place like an engineering schematic. Jessica had systematically removed me from every inheritance decision. The lawyer meetings I wasn't invited to. The estate planning sessions she claimed were just preliminary discussions. The way she'd pat my shoulder whenever I asked questions, saying, "Don't worry about the details, Dad. I've got this handled." What does the real will say? I asked. That's the problem. The original is missing. All we have is Jessica's version, filed with probate court. According to her documents, your father left you 15% of the estate, about $420,000. Jessica gets 80%. The remaining 5% goes to the Denver Children's Hospital. I did the math quickly. Jessica stood to inherit $24 million, a significant upgrade from the equal split Dad had always promised. She's been spending it already, I said, watching a BMW M5 pull into my driveway through the window. Price tag, $127,000. Jessica's early birthday gift to herself, apparently. Bob, there's something else. The notary public whose seal appears on these documents? Thomas Hendricks. I spoke with him this morning. He says he never notarized anything for Jessica Mitchell. Someone forged his seal. Jessica's car door slammed shut. She was walking up my front steps, designer purse slung over her shoulder, a Hermes Birkin, if I wasn't mistaken. Retail price around $15,000. Funny how a public defender's salary suddenly afforded such luxury. She's here, I said. Don't confront her yet. We need more evidence before... I won't. I closed the laptop gently. But David, start building our case. I want every document, every timeline, every inconsistency documented. What are you thinking? I'm thinking my daughter believes I'm too stupid to notice she's been stealing from me for 8 months. The doorbell rang. She's about to learn that Boeing engineers don't just design aircraft. We document everything. Jessica's key turned in the lock, a presumption that would have bothered me 8 months ago. Today I welcomed the evidence of her entitlement. Dad? Her voice carried that practiced warmth she'd perfected since law school. I brought lunch from that Italian place you like. She appeared in my doorway holding a bag from Carmine's $67 for 2 entrees, according to the receipt sticking out of the bag. Another charge on my father's estate credit card, no doubt. That's thoughtful, I said, gesturing to the chair across from me. Jessica sat down, crossing her legs in her $400 Louboutin heels. Her entire outfit cost more than most people's monthly rent, but I kept my expression neutral. "How are you feeling today, Dad? You look tired." There it was, the setup. Plant the seed of my supposed deteriorating mental state. "I'm fine. Just reviewing some paperwork." Her eyes flicked to my closed laptop. "You know you don't need to worry about that stuff anymore. I told you I'm handling Grandpa's estate. It's what I do for a living." "Right. Public defense work must involve a lot of estate planning." A micro-expression crossed her face annoyance, quickly masked. "I mean, I've been studying probate law, taking some additional courses." "Expensive courses?" "Dad, don't worry about money. And once the estate settles, you'll be comfortable. Grandpa made sure of that." Comfortable. An interesting choice of words for someone inheriting $420,000 versus $224 million. "Tell me about the will again," I said. "I want to understand what he wanted." Jessica's smile tightened almost imperceptibly. "We've been through this. Grandpa knew you'd want a simple life. He left you enough to be secure without the burden of managing millions. He was protecting you." "Protecting me? From my own inheritance? And the power of attorney? When exactly did he sign that?" "Dad, these details don't matter. What matters is that everything's being handled properly." And she leaned forward, her voice taking on that condescending tone I'd heard her use with difficult clients. "Sometimes we have to trust the people who understand these complicated legal processes." That's when I realized how deep this went. Jessica hadn't just stolen money. She'd stolen my competence, my dignity, my right to be treated as an equal participant in my own family's legacy. But she'd made one crucial mistake. She'd underestimated the methodical mind that had spent 30 years designing systems that couldn't fail. Time to engineer a solution. 3 days later, Jessica called me at 9:47 p.m. I know the exact time because I'd started documenting everything. Timestamps, conversation details, her tone shifts, old habits from Boeing's quality control protocols. "Dad, we need to talk about your expectations." No greeting, no small talk, just straight to business. "What kind of expectations?" I asked, opening a fresh notebook. "About the inheritance. I've been getting calls from some of your friends. Apparently you've been telling people you're inheriting the majority of Grandpa's estate." I hadn't told anyone anything, but Jessica's paranoia was showing. "I thought I was." Her laugh was sharp, clinical. "Dad, you're not equipped to handle this kind of money. Grandpa knew that. It's why he structured things the way he did." "Structured things how?" "Look, I don't want to hurt your feelings, but managing $2.8 million requires sophisticated financial knowledge. Tax implications, investment strategies, estate planning protocols. These aren't concepts you can learn from engineering textbooks." I kept writing. Direct quote. "These aren't concepts you can learn from engineering textbooks." "So what did he leave me?" "Enough to maintain your current lifestyle comfortably. The house is paid off. You'll get roughly $420,000 plus some personal effects. It's more than adequate for a retired engineer." More than adequate. For a retired engineer. "And you get the rest?" "I get the responsibility of managing the family legacy properly, making sure the money is invested wisely, donated to appropriate causes, used to benefit future generations. Grandpa trusted me with that burden." Burden. She called inheriting $2.24 million a burden. "Jessica, your grandfather always told me we'd split everything equally." "Dad," her voice took on that patient tone reserved for children and the mentally impaired, "you're remembering things wrong. The grief, the stress, it's affecting your memory. Dr. Freeman mentioned this might happen." "I'd like to speak with Dr. Freeman." Silence. 3 seconds. 4. "That's not necessary. Besides, he's very busy with his practice." "What's his office address? I'll make an appointment." "Dad, you don't need to see him again. We have all the documentation we need." Again. As if I'd met this fictional doctor before. "When did I see him the first time?" Another pause. "October 15th. Don't you remember? I drove you to the appointment myself." I was in Seattle on October 15th, attending my former colleague Mike Rodriguez's retirement party. Had photos, boarding passes, hotel receipts, everything documented. Right. October 15th, I said. What did he say about my condition? Dad, we don't need to rehash this. The important thing is that you're getting the support you need. I'm handling the complicated stuff, so you can focus on staying healthy. Focus on staying healthy. Translation: stay out of my way while I steal your inheritance. Jessica, I want to see the original will. The original is with the probate court. I want to see Grandpa's copy, the one he kept in his desk. There is no copy. Lawyers don't typically give clients copies of executed wills. Bullshit. Dad had shown me his will 2 years ago, kept it in his bedroom safe along with Mom's jewelry and his Navy discharge papers. I'd helped him organize those documents when he moved to the assisted living facility. Where's his safe? What safe? The Sentry safe. Black, about 2 feet square. He kept it in his bedroom closet. Jessica's voice sharpened. Dad, there was no safe. You're confusing details again. Maybe we should schedule you another appointment with Dr. Freeman, who doesn't exist? Dead silence. I never said he doesn't exist. Her lawyer training kicked in. I said he's busy. Jessica, I was in Seattle on October 15th. No, you weren't. Mike Rodriguez's retirement party. SeaTac Marriott. Flight 1247, departure 6:15 a.m. Dad, your memory is clearly... I have boarding passes. Long pause. When she spoke again, her voice had shifted. Colder, more calculated. Dad, do you really think a judge is going to believe an elderly man with documented cognitive decline over a Harvard-trained lawyer with proper legal documentation? Elderly man, documented cognitive decline. Are you threatening me? I'm explaining reality. The will is legal. The power of attorney is valid. The psychiatric evaluation is on file with the court. If you try to contest this, you'll lose, and you'll embarrass yourself publicly. What if I have evidence that you forged documents? She laughed, actually laughed. What evidence could you possibly have? Dad, you were barely functional after Grandpa died. You couldn't even handle planning his funeral. I had to manage everything because you were too grief-stricken to think clearly. Too grief-stricken to think clearly. That would be her narrative in court. Maybe I should hire my own lawyer. With what money? Your bank account has $3,147 in it. Good estate attorneys charge $500 an hour. Do the math. She'd checked my bank balance. Of course she had. Besides, she continued, any lawyer worth hiring will tell you the same thing I'm telling you. The documentation is solid. The medical evaluation is conclusive. You don't have a case. We'll see. Dad, please don't make this harder than it needs to be. Accept what Grandpa wanted. Take your $420,000 and enjoy your retirement. Stop questioning decisions made by people who understand these matters better than you do. People who understand these matters better than you do. That's when it clicked. This wasn't about money. This was about power. About Jessica's fundamental belief that she was smarter, more sophisticated, more deserving than her simple engineer father. She'd spent 8 months constructing an elaborate fraud, confident that I was too stupid to notice and too powerless to fight back. Time to prove her wrong on both counts. After Jessica hung up, I sat in Dad's old recliner for exactly 17 minutes. I know because I timed it. Another engineering habit. When facing a complex problem, you don't react. You analyze. The facts were clear. Jessica had forged legal documents. She'd invented a psychiatric evaluation. She was spending inheritance money before probate closed. She believed I was too incompetent to stop her. The question wasn't whether to fight. The question was how. I walked to Dad's bedroom, the room Jessica had cleaned out after his funeral. She'd taken his jewelry, his watch collection, even his reading glasses. But she'd missed something. Engineers hide things differently than other people. We think in terms of structural integrity, load-bearing elements, spaces that won't be disturbed. Behind Dad's dresser, I found what I was looking for, a loose baseboard that had bothered him for years. He'd mentioned it every time I visited. Need to fix that gap behind the dresser. But he never did, because it wasn't broken. It was camouflaged. I pried off the baseboard carefully. Inside the wall cavity, wrapped in waterproof plastic, Dad's 1847 Colt Navy Bible, the one his great-grandfather carried during the Civil War, the one Jessica had searched everywhere for and never found. I opened it to Psalm 37, where Dad always kept important documents. There it was, his real will, witnessed and notarized on January 15th, 2024, 2 months before his death. To my son, Robert Mitchell, 70% of all assets, knowing he will use this inheritance wisely and with the same integrity he has shown throughout his life. To my granddaughter, Jessica Mitchell, 20% of all assets, with the hope that she will learn the value of hard work rather than entitlement. To Denver Children's Hospital, 10% of all assets, because children deserve advocates who fight for justice, not personal gain. 70%, not 15%. Jessica hadn't just stolen money. She'd rewritten Dad's final wishes completely. I photographed every page with my phone, then called David Harrison. I found the original will. Where? Hidden in my father's Bible. Jessica gets 20%, not 80%. I get 70%. That's $196 million she's trying to steal from me. David whistled low. That changes everything. We can contest the probate filing immediately. No. No? We're going to let her dig deeper. Give her more rope to hang herself with. Bob, that's risky. Every day we wait, she could move more assets, create more complications. I looked at Dad's will again, his careful handwriting spelling out exactly what he thought of Jessica's character. David, my daughter thinks I'm a simple engineer who doesn't understand complex legal processes. Let's see how complex things get when an engineer decides to solve a problem systematically. What do you have in mind? Full documentation. Every transaction, every forged document, every lie. When we go to court, I want the evidence so overwhelming that Judge Martinez has no choice but to throw the book at her. Judge Martinez? Eleanor Martinez. She's handling the probate case. I looked her up, 23 years on the bench. Doesn't tolerate fraud, especially estate fraud. Last year, she sentenced a lawyer to 5 years for forging a will worth $800,000. Jessica's stealing $2.24 million. You've been busy. Boeing taught me something, David. When a system fails catastrophically, you don't just fix the immediate problem. You analyze every component, every process, every decision that led to the failure. Then you rebuild it so it can never fail the same way again. And Jessica is a failed system? Jessica is someone who's been enabled her entire life to believe she's smarter than everyone else. Time to test that hypothesis scientifically. David laughed. Well, no. What's the first step? Evidence collection. I want bank records going back 12 months. Security footage from Chase Bank on March 14th, the day before she supposedly got Dad's signature on the power of attorney. Phone records showing who she coordinated with. Everything. That's going to take time. We have time. Probate hearings are scheduled for December 12th. That gives us 4 weeks to build an airtight case. What if she gets suspicious? She won't. I'm going to be the grieving, confused father she expects me to be. Let her think she's won. Meanwhile, we'll document every crime, every lie, every fraudulent transaction. And then? I looked at Dad's Bible again, at his careful notes in the margins of Psalm 37. The wicked plot against the righteous, but the Lord laughs at the wicked, for he knows their day is coming. Dad wasn't particularly religious, but he understood justice. Then we give Jessica exactly what she's earned, in front of everyone who matters, publicly, completely, with consequences that will follow her for the rest of her legal career. Bob, are you sure about this approach? It's going to get ugly. David, my daughter spent 8 months systematically stealing from me while pretending to care about my well-being. She forged legal documents, invented psychiatric evaluations, and had me declared mentally incompetent. I closed the Bible gently. It's already ugly. Now it's going to get thorough. November 15th, 7:32 a.m. I called Jessica from Dad's old landline. The number she'd forgotten existed. Dad, why are you calling from Grandpa's number? I'm at his apartment, going through some final boxes. Found something interesting. Pause. What kind of something? Bank statements. From his personal account. Shows some unusual activity in March. I could hear her breathing change. What do you mean, unusual? Large transfers. After he died. March 16th, $47,000. March 18th, $23,000. Made out to someone with the initials JM. Silence stretched for 8 seconds. I counted. Dad, those were legitimate expenses. Funeral costs, legal fees, estate management charges. I had power of attorney, remember? Right. The power of attorney dated March 15th. Yes. For a man who died March 3rd. Another pause, longer this time. Dad, you're getting confused about the dates. The power of attorney was signed before Grandpa died. The bank transactions were just processed later, due to bureaucratic delays. Interesting. She was sticking to her story, but I could hear the strain. Could you help me understand something else? What? There's a charge here for $127,000 to BMW of Denver. March 20th. What was that for? Dead silence. I actually checked to see if the call had dropped. Jessica? That was a mistake. A clerical error by the bank. It's being reversed. When? Soon. Very soon. Dad, why are you going through Grandpa's financial records? I told you I'm handling everything. Just trying to understand where the money went. There's also a charge to Hermes in Cherry Creek, $14,847, and one to someplace called High Stakes Casino for $31,000. Her voice turned sharp. Dad, those statements must be wrong. Maybe they're old, from before Grandpa died. They're dated March 16th through April 30th, all after the funeral. Dad, I need you to stop going through those papers. You're going to confuse yourself with incomplete information. I'm just curious about... Dad, her voice cut like glass. Stop going through those papers. There it was, the mask slipping. No more patient daughter managing her confused father. Why? Because you don't understand what you're looking at. These are complex financial instruments, estate management procedures, legal disbursements that require specialized knowledge to interpret correctly. Specialized knowledge, right. Jessica, could you come over? Help me make sense of these numbers? Another long pause. I can't today. I'm in court. What case? Just various cases. Public defender work. Which courthouse? Dad, why does it matter? I might stop by, bring you lunch. No thank you. I'll be very busy, all day. Don't come to the courthouse. Fascinating. Jessica, who used to brag about her court appearances, suddenly didn't want me anywhere near her workplace. Okay, but could you explain one more charge? There's something here for $8,200 to Dr. Mitchell Freeman, Psychiatric Services, October 15th. The silence this time lasted so long I thought she'd hung up. Jessica, that was your evaluation fee. $8,200 for one appointment? It was a comprehensive assessment, very thorough, multiple sessions. I thought it was just one session on October 15th. No, there were follow-up consultations, phone calls, report writing. These things are expensive, Dad. Could I get copies of his reports for my records? That's not necessary. The court has everything they need. But I'd like to understand what he found, what diagnosis he gave me. Her voice cracked slightly. Dad, let's not focus on negative things. The important thing is that you're getting the support you need. What diagnosis, Jessica? Early-stage cognitive decline with episodes of confusion and memory loss. That sounds serious. Maybe I should get a second opinion. No! Too fast, too loud. That would just confuse things. Different doctors might have different opinions, and that could complicate the legal proceedings. What legal proceedings? The probate process. Dad, I really need to go. I'm due in court. Which courtroom? Courtroom 3B, Federal Building. I made a note. There was no courtroom 3B in the Federal Building. One last question. This BMW charge, when are you planning to return the car? What car? The one you bought with estate money, the $127,000 BMW M5 in your driveway. Complete silence. Jessica? Dad, I don't know what you think you found, but you're misinterpreting everything. Those bank statements must be forgeries or mistakes. I would never use estate money for personal purchases. So you don't have a BMW M5? I have a car, yes, but I bought it with my own money. My savings. $127,000 worth of savings on a public defender's salary? Dad, I've been investing wisely, building my career. Some of us plan for the future. Right. Well, I'm sure you can show me the loan documents or the check from your personal account. I don't have to show you anything. Dad, you're acting paranoid and suspicious. This is exactly the kind of behavior Dr. Freeman warned might develop. The doctor I never met. The doctor you don't remember meeting. And there it was, her final defense, my supposedly failing memory. Jessica, my memory is fine. Dad, that's what everyone with memory problems says. I smiled, looking at my notebook where I'd documented every contradiction, every timeline discrepancy, every defensive response. You're probably right. Good thing I've been writing everything down. For the first time in our conversation, Jessica's voice shook. Writing what down? Everything. Dates, times, amounts, conversations. You know how engineers are about documentation. Dad, you need to stop this investigation. It's not healthy for you. Actually, Jessica, I think it's the healthiest thing I've done in months. The line went dead. I set down the phone and opened my laptop. Time to call David and start subpoenaing those bank records. Jessica's voice had cracked. Just for a moment, but I'd heard it. The first sign that her perfect plan had a flaw she hadn't anticipated. Her father's methodical mind. November 22nd, 2:15 p.m. Jessica showed up unannounced, which told me everything I needed to know about her state of mind. Controlled people don't make surprise visits. Dad, we need to talk. She didn't wait for permission, just walked into my living room and sat down. Her usual composed demeanor had cracks in it. Her Hermes bag, the one bought with Dad's money, sat at an awkward angle on her lap. About what? About this obsession with Grandpa's financial records. It needs to stop. I looked up from my newspaper, the Denver Post financial section, appropriately enough. I wouldn't call it an obsession, more like due diligence. Dad, you're acting like I'm some kind of criminal. Are you? The question hung between us like a live wire. That's exactly what I'm talking about. Her voice rose slightly. This paranoid thinking, these accusations, they're symptoms of the cognitive decline Dr. Freeman documented. The doctor who doesn't exist. The doctor you don't remember. Jessica, I've called every Dr. Freeman in Denver. None of them have heard of you or me. She shifted in her chair. Maybe he uses a different professional name. Maybe it was a consultation through another practice. Which practice? I don't remember the details. Interesting. The woman with perfect recall for legal precedents suddenly couldn't remember basic facts about my supposed psychiatric care. Let me ask you something else. The handwriting analysis came back yesterday. Her face went pale. What handwriting analysis? I pulled out a manila folder empty, but she didn't know that. The signature on Dad's power of attorney, the one supposedly signed on March 15th. And? Doesn't match any known samples of his handwriting. In fact, the analyst says it shows characteristics consistent with someone trying to imitate his signature while looking at an example. Jessica's hands tightened on her purse straps. Those tests aren't reliable. Handwriting changes when people are sick, stressed, dying. Dad wasn't sick when he died. Heart attack, quick and clean. He was still under stress, financial worries, health concerns. What financial worries? He had $2.8 million. Dad, you were always too simple to understand complex financial pressures. There it was, the truth slipping out. Too simple? I didn't mean... No, say what you mean, Jessica. I'm too simple to understand what, exactly? Her composure cracked further. You were a good engineer, Dad. But engineering isn't finance. It's not law. It's not estate planning. These are sophisticated disciplines that require advanced education, specialized knowledge. Sophisticated disciplines. Yes, like forging documents. I never forged anything. Like inventing psychiatric evaluations. That evaluation's legitimate. Like stealing $2.4 million from your own father? She stood up abruptly. I'm not stealing anything. I'm managing a complex estate, according to Grandpa's wishes and legal requirements that you're too... She stopped herself. Too what, Jessica? Silence. Too stupid? Too old? Too mentally impaired? Too emotional? You're too emotional to handle this rationally. I laughed. Actually laughed. Jessica, I haven't raised my voice once in this conversation. You're the one shouting. She looked around my living room at Dad's old furniture, his engineering textbooks, the modest home of a retired Boeing employee. Dad, look at this place. Look at your life. You live on Social Security and a small pension. You drive a 12-year-old Honda. You buy generic groceries and clip coupons. And you think you can handle managing millions of dollars? You think you understand tax implications, investment strategies, philanthropic planning? I think I understand theft. Her mask slipped completely. You were always like this, always suspicious of anyone more successful than you. Mom used to complain about it. Don't bring Mom into this, I thought, but I kept my voice level. Your mother never complained about anything except your entitlement. My entitlement? Her voice turned cold. I went to Harvard Law School. I've built a career. I understand complex legal and financial systems. You were a factory worker. I was a design engineer. Same thing, blue-collar work, technical labor, not intellectual leadership. And there it was, the core of Jessica's worldview. Her father, the man who raised her alone after her mother died, who paid for her education, who sacrificed his own advancement to be present for school plays and soccer games, was just blue-collar labor, intellectual leadership. That's how she saw herself. Time to show her what intellectual leadership actually looked like. November 25th, Thanksgiving weekend. The perfect time for Jessica to launch her public relations offensive. It started with a Facebook post I wasn't supposed to see. Fortunately, Dad's neighbor, Mrs. Chen, showed me her phone screen when I stopped by to check his mail. Jessica posted something about you, Robert. Thought you should know. The post was a masterpiece of manipulation, asking for prayers for my dad during this difficult time. Since losing his father 8 months ago, he's been struggling with memory issues and confusion. Yesterday, he accused me of stealing from our family estate. It breaks my heart to see him this way. Dementia is such a cruel disease. Thank you to everyone who's been supporting our family through this challenging period. # prayers needed. Dementia awareness. #family first. 43 likes, 16 comments, all expressing sympathy for Jessica's burden of caring for her declining father. My phone started ringing that afternoon. Old friends, distant relatives, former colleagues from Boeing all calling to check on my condition. Bob, I saw Jessica's post. How are you holding up? What post? About your memory problems. Man, I had no idea things had gotten so bad. 3 calls like that, then 5, then my mailbox filled with sympathy cards addressed to Robert Mitchell and family with handwritten notes about staying strong during this difficult journey. Jessica had weaponized my reputation, turned my own social circle against me by painting herself as the devoted daughter caring for her mentally ill father. But she'd made a tactical error. She'd assumed I wasn't on social media. I called David Harrison. Can we use social media posts as evidence of defamation? Potentially. Why? I read him Jessica's Facebook post, word for word. Interesting timing, David said. 3 days after you confronted her about the handwriting analysis. She's controlling the narrative, making sure everyone believes I'm mentally unfit before this goes to court. What's your counter strategy? I opened my laptop and created a Facebook account. Robert Mitchell, Boeing engineer, retired, profile picture, me shaking hands with the governor at the 2019 Engineering Excellence Awards ceremony. David, how much evidence can we legally share publicly? Careful, Bob, if this goes to trial, we don't want to compromise our case. I'm not sharing evidence. I'm just correcting some misconceptions about my mental state. My first post went live at 8:47 p.m. Grateful for all the concerned messages, but I want to clear up some confusion. My mental health is excellent, Just had my annual physical with Dr. Patricia Martinez at Denver Health. Clean bill of health, including cognitive function tests. I am, however, dealing with some family legal matters involving my father's estate. Sometimes when people are caught in questionable behavior, they deflect by questioning others' competence. Boeing taught me to trust documentation over accusations, facts over fear, estate planning, legal matters. Jessica called within 15 minutes. Dad, what are you doing? Correcting misinformation. You're embarrassing yourself publicly. I'm setting the record straight. Dad, delete that post. Now. Why? Because you're making our private family business public. It's inappropriate. Your Facebook post made our business public first. That was different. I was asking for prayers and support. You were lying about my mental health. I was sharing my genuine concerns about Jessica. Dr. Martinez examined me yesterday. Cognitive function perfect. Memory excellent. Would you like to see the test results? Silence. I could post those too. Show everyone exactly how sharp my 52-year-old mind really is. Dad, if you keep posting about this, you'll force me to take legal action. What kind of legal action? Protective measures, court-ordered psychiatric evaluation, guardianship proceedings if necessary. Guardianship? She was threatening to have me declared legally incompetent. Based on what evidence? Based on this erratic behavior, these paranoid accusations, this public campaign against your own daughter. Jessica, the only person who's committed crimes here is you. Dad, I'm trying to protect you from yourself. But if you continue this public campaign, I'll have no choice but to seek court intervention. I looked at my laptop screen. My post had 12 likes and 4 supportive comments from former Boeing colleagues. Messages like, Bob's mind as sharp as ever, and worked with this man for 15 years, no cognitive issues there. Go ahead, I said. What? File for guardianship. Request court-ordered psychiatric evaluation, please. Dad. Jessica, I'd love to sit in front of a judge and explain why you think I'm mentally incompetent, especially when that judge reviews the timeline of your concerns versus your financial transactions. The line went quiet. See you in court, I said, and hung up. Within an hour, her original Facebook post was deleted, but screenshots are forever. David was right about one thing, it was getting ugly. But Jessica had just made her biggest mistake yet. She'd challenged me to prove my competence publicly. Challenge accepted. December 1st through December 10th. 10 days to build a case that would destroy Jessica's fraud completely. I approached it like any complex engineering project. Systematic, methodical, documented. David Harrison's office became our war room. Conference table covered with spreadsheets, bank statements, legal documents, timeline charts, everything organized chronologically, cross-referenced, verified. Talk me through what we have, David said, pouring his 3rd cup of coffee that morning. I opened my master file. 47 pieces of documentation. Let's start with the financial evidence. Document 1. Chase Bank security footage, March 14th, 2:47 p.m. Jessica at the teller window withdrawing $47,000 from Dad's account using the forged power of attorney. Document 2. The power of attorney itself, supposedly signed March 15th. Handwriting analysis confirmed forgery. Paper stock analysis showed it was printed on Jessica's home printer, HP LaserJet Pro, model 404N. Same printer she used for her law practice letterhead. Document 3. BMW of Denver. Purchase agreement, March 20th. $127,000. BMW M5 paid for with estate funds. Sales associate remembered Jessica specifically because she paid cash and seemed unusually excited for someone buying a car during a family crisis. Documents 412. Credit card statements from Dad's estate account. Hermes purse, $14,847. Rolex Submariner, $12,200. High-stakes casino charges totaling $31,000 over 6 weeks. Carmine's restaurant, $67 per meal, 17 times in 2 months. She wasn't even trying to hide it, David noted. because she thought I'd never see the statements, or if I did, I'd be too mentally impaired to understand them. Document 13. Dr. Mitchell Freeman's supposed psychiatric evaluation. We'd tracked down the real source, a template Jessica downloaded from a legal document website, then modified with my personal information. Documents 14 to 19. Phone records showing Jessica's coordination with accomplices. 6 calls to Thomas Hendricks, the notary whose seal she had forged. 12 calls to a document specialist in Aurora, who'd apparently taught her basic forgery techniques. Document 20. The real will found in Dad's Bible. Photographed with timestamp metadata showing discovery date and location. Documents 21 to 25. Medical records proving I'd never seen any psychiatrist. Dr. Patricia Martinez's recent evaluation confirming perfect cognitive function. Document 26. Flight records showing I was in Seattle on October 15th, the date Jessica claimed I'd met with Dr. Freeman. The timeline evidence is devastating, David said. She's contradicted herself on every major point. But I wanted more than financial proof. I wanted moral accounting. Documents 27 to 35. Email chains between Jessica and her law school friends, bragging about her inheritance windfall and mocking her clueless father. One email, dated April 3rd, was particularly damning. Dad actually thanked me for handling everything so competently. If he only knew how competently I've been handling his bank account. Harvard Law didn't teach contract manipulation for nothing. Sometimes being smarter than your family has financial benefits. Documents 3640. Social media evidence. Screenshots of Jessica's deleted Facebook posts. Instagram photos of her new BMW. New jewelry. Expensive dinners. All purchased with stolen inheritance money while publicly claiming to care for her declining father. Document 41. Bank records showing Jessica had opened a separate investment account in the Cayman Islands. $450,000 already transferred offshore, making it harder to recover if she won the probate case. Documents 42-44. Testimony from 3 character witnesses who'd observed Jessica's contemptuous attitude toward me over the past year, including Mrs. Chen, who'd heard Jessica on the phone calling me a pathetic old man who should be grateful for whatever scraps he gets. Document 45. Security footage from the probate court building showing Jessica meeting with a document forger in the parking garage. Date stamp, November 30th, just 12 days before our court hearing. Document 46. Expert testimony from forensic accountant Margaret Torres, who'd calculated that Jessica had stolen or attempted to steal $2,247,000 from the estate, enough for federal wire fraud charges carrying up to 20 years in prison. Document 47, audio recording of Jessica's November 22nd visit to my house, where she'd admitted viewing me as too simple to understand financial matters. I closed the master file and looked at David. 47 pieces of evidence, every financial transaction documented, every lie exposed, every crime proven with timestamps, witnesses, and physical proof. Bob, this is the most thorough case documentation I've seen in 23 years of practice. Boeing taught me something, David. When you're building systems that keep people alive at 35,000 feet, thoroughness isn't optional. I picked up Dad's original will, still smelling faintly of the old Bible where he'd hidden it. My daughter thought she was smarter than her simple engineer father. She thought sophistication meant complexity, that intelligence meant manipulation. And now? Now she's about to learn that real intelligence means preparation, and real sophistication means having enough evidence that the truth becomes undeniable. December 12th was in 2 days, time to show Judge Martinez what systematic documentation looked like. December 12th, 9 Hunquak a.m., Denver Probate Court, Courtroom 4A. I arrived 30 minutes early, carrying 2 briefcases, and wearing Dad's navy blue suit, the one he'd worn to my Boeing promotion ceremony 15 years ago. Symbolic, maybe, but engineers understand the importance of presenting systems properly. The courtroom filled quickly, 67 people by my count. Extended family, Jessica's law school friends, neighbors, former Boeing colleagues who'd seen my Facebook posts, even Mrs. Chen clutching her purse and glaring at Jessica like she'd stolen Christmas. Jessica sat at the plaintiff's table with her attorney, Marcus Webb, a slick estate lawyer who charged $650 an hour and looked like he knew it. She was wearing her power outfit, black Armani suit, pearl necklace, the Hermes bag purchased with Dad's money. Every inch the competent professional managing her unstable father's delusions. David Harrison and I took the defendant's table. He'd arranged our 47 pieces of evidence in chronological order, each marked with exhibit numbers and cross-referenced to our legal arguments. Judge Eleanor Martinez entered at 9:32 a.m., 23 years on the bench, reputation for no-nonsense jurisprudence, and zero tolerance for estate fraud. She looked at the packed courtroom with raised eyebrows. "This is probate court, not family court. Why do we have an audience?" Jessica's attorney stood. "Your Honor, we've requested a closed hearing due to the sensitive nature of the respondent's mental health issues." Mental health issues? Yes, Your Honor. Robert Mitchell is suffering from documented cognitive decline and has been making increasingly erratic accusations against his daughter, who's been managing his late father's estate with proper legal authority. Judge Martinez looked at me. "Mr. Mitchell, how do you respond to that characterization?" I stood slowly. "Your Honor, I have 47 pieces of documentation that prove my daughter has committed systematic fraud against our family estate. I'd like to present them systematically if the court permits." 47 pieces? "Yes, Your Honor, each one authenticated, verified, and cross-referenced." Jessica's attorney smirked. "Your Honor, this obsessive documentation behavior is exactly what we're talking about. No rational person needs 47 pieces of evidence for a simple probate matter." Judge Martinez's expression sharpened. "Counselor, in my experience, people who commit fraud usually leave plenty of evidence. Let's see what Mr. Mitchell has compiled." The next hour was surgical precision. Exhibit 1, the forged power of attorney dated 12 days after Dad's death. Exhibit 2, handwriting analysis proving forgery. Exhibit 3, bank security footage showing Jessica using the forged document. Exhibit 4, BMW purchase receipt, $127,000, paid with estate funds. With each piece of evidence, I watched Jessica's composure deteriorate. First, her hands started shaking. Then her face went pale. By Exhibit 15, she was whispering frantically to her attorney. "Your Honor," Marcus Webb interrupted, "we'd like to request a brief recess." "Denied. Continue, Mr. Mitchell." Exhibit 20, Dad's real will, showing Jessica inherits 20%, not 80%. Audible gasps from the gallery. Mrs. Chen actually said, "I knew it," loud enough for everyone to hear. Exhibit 28, Jessica's email bragging about manipulating her clueless father. Judge Martinez read it twice, her expression growing colder with each word. Exhibit 35, bank records showing $450,000 transferred to Cayman Islands accounts. "Ms. Mitchell," Judge Martinez said, her voice cutting through the courtroom like a blade, "did you transfer estate assets to offshore accounts before probate was complete?" Jessica stood unsteadily. "Your Honor, those were legitimate estate management strategies." "Legitimate estate management doesn't typically involve Caribbean banking, Ms. Mitchell." Exhibit 41, audio recording of Jessica calling me too simple to understand financial matters. The entire courtroom heard her voice, cold and dismissive. "You were always too simple to understand complex financial pressures. Engineering isn't finance. These are sophisticated disciplines that require advanced education." Judge Martinez stopped the recording. "Ms. Mitchell, is that your voice?" "Your Honor, that conversation was taken out of context." "The context appears to be you explaining why you deserve your father's inheritance more than he does." Exhibit 45, security footage of Jessica meeting with a document forger in the courthouse parking garage. Dead silence. Even Jessica's attorney looked stunned. "Your Honor," I said, "this meeting took place on November 30th, 12 days ago. My daughter was apparently preparing additional forged documents for today's hearing." Judge Martinez leaned forward. Ms. Mitchell, did you meet with anyone in this courthouse's parking garage for the purpose of creating fraudulent legal documents? Jessica's voice cracked. Your Honor, I was just exploring all legal options. Legal options don't typically involve parking garage meetings with document forgers. The final exhibits were devastating. Medical records proving I'd never been psychiatrically evaluated. Flight records showing I was in Seattle when Jessica claimed I'd met with her fictional doctor. The forensic accountant's report calculating $2.247 million in attempted theft. When I finished, the courtroom was silent, except for the air conditioning. Judge Martinez reviewed her notes for 3 full minutes. Then she looked up at Jessica. Ms. Mitchell, in 23 years on this bench, I have never seen a more systematic pattern of estate fraud. You forged legal documents, invented psychiatric evaluations, stole substantial sums of money, and attempted to have your own father declared mentally incompetent to cover your crimes. Your Honor, I was trying to protect the family legacy. By stealing it, Jessica's attorney tried to intervene. Your Honor, if we could discuss a settlement, there will be no settlement counselor. This case is being referred immediately to the district attorney for criminal prosecution. Judge Martinez's voice rang through the courtroom. Wire fraud, forgery, elder abuse, perjury, and conspiracy charges will be filed before close of business today. She turned to me. Mr. Mitchell, I'm invalidating all probate documents filed by your daughter and recognizing your father's original will as the valid testamentary instrument. You inherit 70% of the estate, as your father intended. The gallery erupted. Applause, gasps, someone shouting, Justice! Mrs. Chen was wiping her eyes. Judge Martinez banged her gavel. Furthermore, Ms. Mitchell, I'm recommending disciplinary proceedings with the Colorado State Bar. Your law license will be suspended pending criminal trial, and I suspect it will be permanently revoked upon conviction. Jessica collapsed into her chair, her face in her hands. Your Honor, I said, standing again, I have one final request. Yes, Mr. Mitchell? I'd like the record to show that this case demonstrates why systematic documentation matters. My daughter assumed that superior education meant superior intelligence. She was wrong. Intelligence isn't about degrees or credentials. It's about preparation, thoroughness, and respect for truth. I looked at Jessica, still crumpled in her chair. She thought I was too simple to understand her sophisticated fraud. But Boeing taught me something she never learned at Harvard Law. Complex systems fail when their foundational assumptions are wrong. Her foundational assumption was that her father was stupid. Everything she built collapsed from there. Judge Martinez nodded approvingly. Mr. Mitchell, your systematic approach to evidence gathering is a model for how these cases should be prepared. Court is adjourned. As people filed out, Jessica finally looked at me. Her face was streaked with tears, her composure completely shattered. Dad, I'm sorry. I never meant for it to go this far. I picked up my briefcases, heavy with the documentation that had just destroyed her career, and sent her toward prison. Jessica, you're right about one thing. I am just a simple engineer, but simple engineers build things that don't fall apart under pressure. I walked toward the exit, where David Harrison was already fielding questions from reporters. Your father would be proud, he said. I looked back at Jessica, slumped at the defendant's table while her attorney explained criminal procedure. No, I said. My father would be heartbroken, but he'd understand that sometimes you have to cut down diseased branches to save the tree. December 20th, 8 days after the hearing. Jessica was arrested at 6:23 a.m. at her apartment. Federal charges, wire fraud, conspiracy, elder abuse, and forgery. Bail set at $500,000 money she no longer had access to, since all estate assets were frozen pending restitution proceedings. The Denver Post ran the story on page 3. Harvard lawyer charged in $2.2 million estate fraud. The article included my quote about systematic documentation, defeating sophisticated deception. 3 former clients contacted the district attorney about reviewing their cases for similar fraud patterns. December 28th, the Colorado State Bar suspended Jessica's license pending criminal trial. Her law practice dissolved overnight. The public defender's office terminated her employment. Her professional reputation, the thing she'd valued above family, above honesty, above basic decency, was destroyed completely. January 15th. Jessica called from county jail. "Dad, I need help with bail money." "I don't have $500,000. You have the inheritance now, $2 million. I looked out my kitchen window at the same modest neighborhood I'd lived in for 15 years. The Honda in my driveway still had 87,000 miles on it. Nothing in my life had changed except my bank balance. "Jessica, that money isn't mine yet. It's tied up in restitution proceedings until the court determines how much you stole and where it went. I can pay it back. With what? Your law license is revoked. Your assets are seized. Your Cayman Islands accounts are frozen." Silence. "Dad, I'm your daughter." "Yes, you're my daughter who forged documents to steal my inheritance and tried to have me declared mentally incompetent. I made mistakes. You made choices. Every forgery, every lie, every theft was a deliberate choice. So you're just going to let me rot in jail?" I thought about that question for a long moment, about the daughter I'd raised alone, the law school tuition I'd helped pay, the pride I'd felt at her graduation. "Jessica, I love you. I will always love you. But love doesn't mean unlimited access to my dignity, my money, or my forgiveness. You need to face the consequences of your choices. Dad, when you get out of prison, if you want to rebuild our relationship, I'll be here. But it will be on terms of mutual respect, not manipulation." I hung up the phone. Outside, Mrs. Chen was walking her dog past my house. She waved, and I waved back. Simple gestures, honest gestures, the kind that don't require sophisticated interpretation.